Hi, I'm Richard Thomas, and I'd like to share a story with you. It's a story about a family, an American family, living through a time of great social upheaval and economic hardship. It's a story that takes place in 1933, but it made its mark on our country in 1972. And now, in the 21st century, it may be more resonant than ever before. But mostly, it's a story about human kindness and compassion and love. It's a story about family, and one in particular. A family that I was very proud to be a part of 50 years ago, and that I still feel a part of today. A family called the Waltons.
Exposing the Waltons. Hypocrisy behind the wholesome family facade. Today we're pulling back the curtain on a beloved classic, The Waltons. You know the one, that heartwarming show about a big, tight-knit family scraping by during the Great Depression and World War II, living on Walton's Mountain in rural Virginia. It ran from 1972 to 1981, with 9 seasons and a bunch of TV movies, drawing in millions who tuned in for these feel-good stories of faith, hard work, and family values. The Waltons were portrayed as a pious, moral bunch, saying grace before meals, sticking together through thick and thin, teaching lessons about honesty and decency. But folks, behind the scenes, it was a different story. Scandals, secrets, and lifestyles that clashed hard with the squeaky clean image they sold us. It's time to expose the hypocrisy. How Hollywood hid the real lives of the cast, especially those grandparents we all adored, while preaching family purity on screen. This isn't about judging people, it's about calling out the double standard that lets Tinseltown push one thing to the public while living another. So let's dive in, plain and simple, like chatting over a cup of coffee. First off, let's remind ourselves what made the Waltons so special, or at least what they wanted us to think was special. The show was based on creator Earl Hamner Jr.'s real-life upbringing in the Blue Ridge Mountains. It starred Ralph Waite as John Walton Sr., the hard-working dad, Michael Learned as Olivia, the devoted mom, and their 7 kids, including Richard Thomas as the aspiring writer, John Boy. Then there were the grandparents, Will Geer as Zebulon, Zeb Walton, the folksy grandpa, and Ellen Corby as Esther, Grandma Walton, the no-nonsense matriarch. Episodes often ended with the family saying goodnight to each other, lights flickering out in that big old house. It was all about traditional roles, men providing, women nurturing, and everyone turning to God and family in tough times. Critics called it wholesome, a throwback to simpler days when America valued morality over materialism. But as we'll see, that piety was just a facade, carefully crafted while the actors' real lives told a tale of indiscretions, hidden relationships, and personal struggles that Hollywood swept under the rug. Let's start with the grandparents, because that's where the hypocrisy hits hardest. On screen, Grandpa and Grandma Walton were the epitome of a long-married, God-fearing couple, bickering like old folks do, but deeply committed, quoting Bible verses and upholding family honor. In real life, both Will Geer and Ellen Corby were in same-sex relationships, something that would have shocked the show's conservative audience back then, and Hollywood knew it, but they buried it deep to keep the illusion alive. Take Will Geer first. Born in 1902, Geer was a talented actor with a background in theater and activism. But here's the bombshell. In the 1930s, he was in a romantic relationship with Harry Hay, a fellow activist and one of the founders of the gay rights movement in America. They met at a theater in Los Angeles, became lovers, and Geer even introduced Hay to the Communist Party, where they fought for workers' rights together. Geer was bisexual. He married a woman named Herta Ware in 1934, had 3 kids, and stayed with her for about 20 years before they separated. only to reunite later in life. But his relationship with Hay was passionate and real, lasting through their shared political battles, like the 1934 San Francisco waterfront strike. Geer was open about his sexuality in private circles, but publicly, it was hidden, especially during the McCarthy era, where he got blacklisted for refusing to name names to the House Un-American Activities Committee. By the time he landed on the Waltons in 1970, Geer was in his 70s, playing the straight-as-an-arrow grandpa while his past stayed buried. Why? Because exposing it would have shattered the show's family values myth. Geer passed away in 1978, right in the middle of the series, and even then, the truth about his life didn't make headlines.
But the secrets go even deeper. Will Geer, the beloved Grandpa Walton with his twinkling eyes and gentle wisdom, carried a secret that could have destroyed the show if it had come out during the height of the Cold War paranoia. Will Geer was a blacklisted communist sympathizer. During the McCarthy era, Will's career was destroyed. He lost everything: his income, his reputation, his place in Hollywood. For years, he was unable to work in television or film. The man who would later become America's favorite grandfather was branded a dangerous radical and cast into the wilderness. When the Waltons gave him a second chance, Will was desperate. He needed this job not just for his career, but for his survival. Every warm scene with the grandchildren, every bit of folksy wisdom, it was being delivered by a man who the very system he had crushed, he was now entertaining. The show that celebrated American values was giving refuge to a man whom those values had rejected and destroyed.
Now, Ellen Corby, the Grandma Walton herself, born in 1911, she was a hard-working actress who won hearts with her feisty portrayal of Esther. But in real life, Corby was in a committed same-sex relationship with a woman named Stella Lucetta for over 45 years. They met in the 1930s, lived together for decades, and Stella often called Corby a caretaker or friend in public to dodge suspicion. Corby had been married once to a man named Francis Corby from 1934 to 1944, but after the divorce, it was all about Stella. When Corby suffered a stroke in 1976 during filming, Stella was by her side, nursing her back to health. Corby's last words before passing in 1999 were reportedly, "Love you," to Stella. Yet Hollywood presented them as just roommates or companions, never acknowledging the romantic bond. Why the cover-up? Because Grandma Walton, preaching about marital fidelity and family piety while living as a lesbian, would have been too much for the 1970s America to handle. It's classic hypocrisy, selling traditional roles on screen while ignoring the actors' authentic lives.
As Grandma Walton takes a tragic turn that most fans never fully understood. During the show's run, Ellen suffered a massive stroke that left her partially paralyzed and struggling to speak. Most shows would have quietly written the character out, wished the actress well, and moved on. But the Waltons did something unprecedented and somewhat disturbing. They wrote Ellen's real-life medical crisis into the show. Grandma Walton's stroke became a storyline. Ellen Corby, still recovering, still struggling with speech, was brought back to film emotional scenes about her character's medical struggles. The woman was literally acting out her own tragedy for America's entertainment. Fans praised the show's realistic portrayal of a family dealing with a grandparent's health crisis, never knowing they were watching actual human suffering being transformed into television drama. Ellen's real tears, her genuine struggles to form words. It was all authentic because it was all real.
But it doesn't stop with the grandparents. The rest of the cast had their share of indiscretions and controversies that clashed with the show's saintly image. Take Ralph Waite, the stern but loving John Walton Sr. In real life, Waite battled severe alcoholism during the early years of the show. He admitted to drinking heavily, which affected his work, but ironically, playing the responsible family man helped him to get sober. Waite was also known for his on-set pranks, like mooning the cast alongside Will Geer, hardly the behavior of the pious patriarch he portrayed.
The man who anchored it all, Ralph Waite, the gentle patriarch John Walton Sr. Every Thursday night, millions of Americans watched him guide his family through the Great Depression with wisdom, patience, and unwavering moral strength. He was the father figure America wished it had. But here's the devastating truth. While Ralph was teaching the nation about family values, he was secretly drowning in a bottle. Ralph Waite was a severe alcoholic. The man who portrayed sobriety and steadiness on screen was fighting a demon that nearly destroyed him off-screen. During some of the show's most emotional family dinner scenes, Ralph had to be helped to stay steady. The warm, reassuring voice that said grace over countless Walton family meals sometimes slurred between takes. But it gets worse.
And Michael Learned, who played Olivia, the nurturing mom, she too struggled with alcoholism, saying the show saved her life by giving her purpose. But she left after season 8 because she found the role boring and repetitive, ironing clothes and scenes just to stay visible. Learned had been through domestic abuse in her past and battled drinking. Yet on screen, she was the picture of serene motherhood.
Wasn't fighting this battle alone. Michael Learned, the Emmy-winning actress who brought Olivia Walton to life, was also struggling with alcohol addiction during the height of the show's success. Think about that for a moment. The two people portraying America's most stable parents were both secretly alcoholics, trying to hold themselves together long enough to film scenes about family strength and moral guidance. Michael later admitted that some of her most touching scenes as the caring, wise mother were filmed while she was battling her own form of hell. The woman who tucked America's children into bed every week through their television screens couldn't even trust herself to make it through a day without a drink. The irony is heartbreaking. While the Walton parents were teaching the nation about weathering life's storms, the actors portraying them were drowning in storms of their own.
The child actors. They wasn't spared either. Many felt exploited by the studio. Eric Scott, who played Ben, said the kids were underpaid and taken advantage of, despite the show's massive success. There was intense pressure on set, no encouragement, just demands to hit marks and deliver lines perfectly. Mary McDonough, who played Erin, developed lupus, which she blamed on silicone breast implants she got due to body image issues from the industry. And Richard Thomas, or John Boy. Rumors swirled that Ellen Corby couldn't stand him, leading to real tension behind their on-screen warmth. John Walmsley, who played Jason, later revealed he had a reclusive life after the show, dealing with the aftermath of fame. Even the food in these famous family dinner scenes was a nightmare, sitting under hot lights for hours, turning gross and making the cast sick.
Richard Thomas, the young man who brought John Boy Walton to life, seemed to have it all. He was the heart of the show, the narrator whose voice became as familiar as a family member's. But Richard was suffocating. At the height of the show's popularity, when The Waltons was one of the biggest hits on television, Richard Thomas made a shocking decision. He walked away. Just like that, America's beloved John Boy abandoned Walton's mountain. But why would someone leave such success behind? The truth is that Richard felt trapped by John Boy's wholesome image. He was a serious actor who wanted to explore complex, challenging roles, but America only saw him as the innocent, earnest boy from Virginia. Every audition, every meeting, every opportunity. It all came back to Goodnight John Boy. Richard later admitted that he sometimes felt like he was disappearing into the character, losing himself in John Boy's overwhelming wholesomeness. The role that made him famous was also becoming his prison. And what about the younger Walton children? The kids who grew up on camera, who America watched mature from childhood into adulthood. Several of the child actors struggled with the pressure of being part of America's perfect family. They had to maintain wholesome images while dealing with typical teenage rebellion, romantic relationships, and normal growing pains, all under intense public scrutiny. Some rebelled hard against their wholesome images. Others struggled with the transition from child star to adult actor. A few carried resentment about being typecast as perpetually innocent when they wanted to be seen as mature, complex individuals. The pressure to be worthy of the Walton name, both on and off screen, took its toll on young people who just wanted to be normal teenagers.
Friends, this all points to a bigger issue: Hollywood's hypocrisy. The Waltons was pitched as an antidote to the gritty, immoral TV of the 1970s. Think violent cop shows or edgy comedies. It was meant to restore faith in American values, even getting a nod from Congress for its wholesomeness. But while the scripts preached purity, the cast's real lives were full of human flaws, same-sex love affairs, addiction battles, exploitation, and hidden truths. So why hide it? because exposure would have tanked ratings and revealed the industry as a machine that manufactures myths while ignoring reality. Critics back then called the show too sentimental, glossing over the real hardships of the Depression, like poverty and social upheaval. And today, we see how this pattern continues in Hollywood. Stars preaching one thing, living another, all while families suffer from the mixed messages. It's time to tell these stories, not to tear down the people involved. They were just folks navigating a tough world, but to expose the system that demands perfection on screen while allowing chaos off of it. The Waltons family wasn't real. It was a product sold to us. By shining a light on the scandals, we honor the truth and remind ourselves that true values come from authenticity, not scripted piety. Let's demand better from Hollywood. No more cover-ups. Thank you for listening, guys.
Here's what makes the Waltons tragedy so profound. The show worked precisely because the pain was real. When Ralph Waite delivered emotional scenes about family responsibility, his own guilt about his drinking gave those moments genuine weight. When Michael learned portrayed a mother's love and sacrifice, her own struggles with addiction informed every gesture, every look, every line. When Will Geer spoke about weathering hard times and staying true to your values, he was drawing from the bitter experience of being cast out and fighting his way back. When Ellen Corby showed Grandma's resilience, she was channeling her own fight to recover and reclaim her life. The Waltons felt real because the suffering behind it was real. The family that taught America about love, forgiveness, and sticking together was portrayed by people who desperately needed those very things in their own lives.